Good morning, good evening, good afternoon for all our listeners all over the world. I would like to welcome you to our keynote presentation at the second edition of International Conferences on Green Chemistry and Renewable Energy. Thank you very much for attending. I would also like to thank Roby Dorfson from Magnus Conferences, who invited me to be your keynote speaker today. Thank you to Thomas Schirmeier, our graphic designer in Starnberg, Germany, to Uli Felger, my webmaster in Germany, and to the magnificent team here. Thank you very much. My thanks also go to Java Print in Babak, Garden City, Samal Island, who made all this nice printing of our graphics. Okay. Now let's start with our program. I'd like to introduce you to our today's program. The topic of my keynote presentation is, will hydrogen be able to solve the energy problems of the world? That's a very important question, and maybe we find the solution with this presentation. Now we have 8 different slides for you. The basic, we have 2 for analysis, we have 3 slides for hydrogen, and we have a personal outlook, and later some questions. So first of all, we start with the Earth's energy balance. I will tell you something about the power of the sun. Then we go to the worldwide energy production by sources from 1860 to 2020. Later we will analyze the German power grid for the last 2 years. Coming to hydrogen, there's hydrogen and the laws of physics. Then we come to my old energy ideas, for example, 4 steps to a new energy supply. Or can 35 cars power one skyscraper? Also, I would like to introduce you to my personal power provider, which we have built here for you. And later we will come back here for our questions. Okay. Now we will go to our first point. Thank you for following. Come. Our first slide is this one, the Earth balance, the energy Earth balance. And here you see the immense power of the sun, because the sun has a radiation of 4.6 10 squared 24 joule per year. That's a lot of energy which is coming down from the sun every day. So here's the atmosphere of the Earth, that's the Earth. And here you see some are reflected by the atmosphere, others are reflected inside or here by the Earth's ground or by evaporation, here like rain. Anyway, what has happened in reality is that the energy emitted by the sun on one day would supply the energy needs of the whole world for almost 30 years. That's a lot. So when you see the sun one day, you must imagine all the solar radiation can supply the Earth for 30 years. But there's a but, because the human mechanical energy conversion by humans is this one. So we need a magnifier to see, because this mechanical energy conversion by humans is only 0.005% of the whole solar radiation. Which means we are using only this little fraction of the sun for our energy, which we need for heating, cooking, and for driving and flying and transportation and everything. So we need this on the Earth. This will lead us to our second graphic. No, sorry, I missed it. This will lead us to our second graphic. I was lost, excuse me. This is the worldwide energy production by source from 1860 to 2020. And this is in terawatt hours per year. So here you see the scale. Here you see the fossil fuels, which are very much used. So the whole thing started in 1860 here, our graphic, with the use of coal. That was first used in Great Britain and in Europe for the so-called industrialization. Later the oil followed, which is now the biggest primary energy in the world. And number 3 is gas. These gas also came. Here the increase of oil was in the 60s to 70s, in this time span, when the big intercoastal highways were built in the USA. There are some depths, but here's the good news, because the use of oil has reached its peak here in the year 2019, and now it's going down. That's a good sign. On the other hand, what we call the renewable energies are well below this increase. The biggest one is a traditional biomass, that's here. This is mainly wood and manure from the animals. This has been there all the time. The people were heating and cooking with wood all the time, and they still do today. Not only in Asia and Africa, but also in Europe. Many people are cooking with wood. Then we have the hydropower. This is energy, electricity made from water, which is on a hill, and which is then used in the turbine and generator to make electricity, or it is pumped up again and falling down to make electricity. The other thing is wind. It's hard to see. And biofuel. These are very hard to see, so we need again a magnifier if we want to see these renewable energies here, very small compared to oil, coal and gas. So here we have added the fossil fuel, oil, coal and gas, to this black curve, and we have added the renewable to this black curve, and there's also nuclear, which we will not speak about today. The nuclear energy is this red curve here. Okay, now we come to the development on the time scale. I was born, for example, in the year 1946, and we will now make a a red line, so that you can see, just slowly, again up, that we can see the line. Okay, so that was when I was a baby, 1946, and this is a development in the last 76 years. That's quite a lot. Now we come to the young people. When are you born?
2007.
Okay, now we make your line in blue. So also these young kids have, put it on, yes, like this, have witnessed a very high amount of change in the last years. We must be aware that this is not a static line, this is a flexible development. And I hope that the renewable energy as such will grow. Now there's another one, born in which year?
2010.
Okay, they get the green line, because green is a hope for the future. That's the green line. Just put it here on the, like this, okay? So I hope that this generation will see an increase of the fossil fuels and a decrease of the renewable energies. And that's what we all ask to work for. Maybe, yes, okay. So we can add the same here, blue and green. So we have all to work hard to get this achievement, that the fossil fuels will go down and the renewable energies will go up. And then it can be, we can see by the old curves. Okay. Which will now, that's fine. Which will now, you make another one, the green. Which will now lead us to our next topic. From the man-made energy here from this 0.005%, and that is here, the German power grid. The German electricity grid is immense. It has the total length of 1,883,605 kilometers. That's a lot. We come back to this figure later. The rate, the growth rate from 2002 to 2001 was only 0.4%. That's very little, and this was only in the distribution net. Here we have in Germany 4 different voltage levels. The highest is 380,000 volt, and the lowest is 400 volt to distribute the houses. That's the distribution net. And the increase was only here in the distribution net. Only a few hundred kilometers were added in the long distance grid. Here you see the transformers which are needed, and in Germany we need 566,300 transformers called substation, and they have oil coolers and they are running 24/7, and they also produce a lot of losses in this very archaic system. Now this figure 1.8 million kilometer does not say so much, but you must know that the distance from the Earth to the Moon is 375 in average, 375,000 kilometer, which means the total length of this German electricity grid with these long poles and wires is 4.8 times from the Earth to the Moon. And now we will symbolize you what it means to be, what it means to take 4.8 times the distance from the Earth to the Moon. You can look. That's one. That's 375,000 kilometers. Now number 2. That's the next. That's okay. Now imagine that Germany is such a small country. Where's the camera? Here, it's hard to be seen on the globe. Only this little country is Germany, and it takes such a long distance for the electricity grid, which is in fact 45.8 times around the equator of the Earth. So you can turn these wires 48.5 times around the globe only for the German electricity. Are you done?
Yes.
That's 4.8?
Yes.
Can we count?
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4.8 times the distance between the Earth and the Moon.
Yeah, it's the length of the German electricity grid. Wow, that's very impressive. And even, yeah, you can clap. Bravo. Even in Germany, nobody knows this. You can ask any professor who is teaching electronics or electric, they don't even know it. Okay, now we come to our next topic, which is slide number 4, hydrogen. We have 2 more slides on hydrogen. So this one is about the laws of physics of hydrogen. So we have 1 liter of water. We have 1 liter of water, and there is 110 kilogram of hydrogen in this liter of water, but you need 5.6 kilowatt of energy to convert it with an electrolyzer. So here's our electrolyzer, which makes hydrogen out of water with electricity, and on the way back, if you want electricity again, you have a fuel cell, which is this one. And this fuel cell contains 3.7 kilowatt hour of energy, but it needs, in the end, you only get 1.8 kilowatt hours again. So you're using 5.6 kilowatt hours of energy, and in the end you only come out with 1.8 kilowatt of energy, which means you have losses from 100% back to 33%. So you must always be aware when you talk of hydrogen, we want hydrogen, the future is in hydrogen, that you have at least 1/3 losses in this conversion system, which means on the other hand you need 3 times as much renewable energy if you are converting from water to hydrogen and back to electricity. So this means you need 3 times as much renewable energy in the beginning. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now we come to my first energy idea, volume 1, which I first released in the year 2003. This chart is 19 years old, but it's still very valued today. Even today, remove this. Put there. It's very valued today. So, in fact, we have 4 steps to a new, reliable, cleaner, and decentralized energy supplies based on hydrogen and fuel cell. So let us just imagine that we have enough solar energy, we have enough wind energy, and maybe some biomass and whatever we need, not fossil fuel, but these energies. And out of these we make hydrogen for the cars. We put the hydrogen into the cars, and the cars drive on hydrogen using fuel cell to make electricity, because all hydrogen cars have electrical motors, either 1 or 2 or even 4 electrical motors in every hydrogen car. Now these 2 steps, step 1 and step 2, have already been done, but the market doesn't really accept it, because in Germany there are only more or less 2,000 hydrogen cars on the road, which means out of 47 million cars, it's a very small fraction, 0.000% are at the moment hydrogen cars. Because there is something missing, which I call added value. So the added value could be that while these cars are parked, actually in Europe, maybe here's the same, a car is only used in average 1 hour per day, 1 hour per 24 hours is only the use of a car. So while the cars are parked, these vehicles can supply electricity here with our fuel cell, and they will be connected to the buildings, like a shopping mall, like a house, like a skyscraper. They have a special connection, and then these car owners can earn money based on the electricity and the heat which they supply to the buildings. So when they check out or they leave the building, they get a rebate on their credit card or on their automatic payment system, and they earn the money while the car is standing. That is my idea, which I was also presenting in the year 2002 to the board member of Daimler, or Daimler Chrysler at that time, and I presented it to him with this graphic, and he was only laughing. Later I had the opportunity to visit him in his house in Stuttgart, but only his wife and his children understood. He was still laughing. So that was a missed opportunity. Anyway, now we come to the next thing, which means slide number 6, which I introduced in the year 2005, which means this graphic is 17 years old, older than the kids here. And this means, can 35 cars power a skyscraper? Now here we have the cars, 35 cars. This is our skyscraper, which we built. Thank you very much to the team. It took some weeks to make these windows, and the funny thing is, I let them count the windows, and we have 1,946 windows, which is actually my age, because I was born in the year 1946. So each of these windows stands for one of my years, so more or less. Anyway, now back to our 35 cars, which are here. And we calculated it for different car sizes, like 23 kilowatt or 77 kilowatt or 242 kilowatt or 515 kilowatt in the powertrain of these cars. They are different sizes, and therefore they can supply the car. So we have here our little cars, and they try to find the parking space. It's automatically. And so they are working hard to find the parking space, but they don't find it. Maybe there's the wrong software. Who knows? So we come to these photos. This is a house in USA. I took all these photos myself. This is some villas right on the beach in California, Huntington Beach. This is one of those villas, maybe 8 to 15 million US dollars per piece. This is a very famous town in Italy called Florence, and the name of this river is Arno. That's the river Arno in Florence. This is a view from my office in Shanghai. I had an office in Shanghai in 2002 to 2004. I was working in Shanghai, so I had this view that there's a railway station, the North Railway Station in Shanghai. And this is an environmental building for the Office of Environment in Dessau in East Germany. So everything has to do something with anything. Which leads us now to my next proposal. That's another one of my energy ideas, the third one, which I presented first in the year 2008 at the fuel cell seminar in Phoenix, Arizona. So this is number 7. And I called it a personal power provider. So this one is a personal power provider. And the basic idea is that the personal power provider is using all the renewable energies which are available on the property here, like hydropower, running water, like biomass, like wind energy, like solar, or even new sources which we don't even know today. I mean, we didn't know solar power some years ago, or geothermal, and they're going into this little annex here, this one. And here, all these renewable energies from the property are converted for the needs of the users of this house. So here you see the house, and what they use is like for heat for cooking, or electricity for loading, charging computers, electronic lights, all low voltage, heat for cooking and cooling and heating, and also domestic hot and cold water. It's also independent from their own property, let's say 600 square meter or 2,000 square meter. It's enough to supply the whole power of this one house. And the advantage is you don't need any grid. We remember 4.8 times from the Earth to the Moon, and we don't need any gas pipeline. You remember there was about gas. And also the cars can drive, so we have another one. Let's see if it's a little bit smarter to find the way into the garage. Again, it's working hard. Wow, okay. Bye-bye. So we put the car in the garage. And this car is part of the whole system inside the house, because the most expensive pieces are the power electronic and the storage. And you can use this also for the supply of the house of the people who are living in this building. Okay, which leads us to our last point, and that is our thank you very much for your patience. And let me, to the question we come later. Let me start with this line: power to the people, people to the power, people are the power. That's one of my slogans. Power to the people, people to the power, people are the power. Here you can see my email, arno@aaevers.com. This is my private website, www.aaevers.com. This is my company website, www.hydrogenambassadors.com. And here's a website for this nice establishment here, Sunny Houses, SamalIsland.com. So who has any question? Anyway, thank you very much for your interest. I would like to welcome you. You can also look around and ask me questions later. And again, we had now covered all our topics. And the question, will hydrogen be able to solve the energy problems in the world? You will hopefully answer for yourself. But I can only say, as for what we have seen and learned today, it will not come the way it is done today. There must be different people, different ideas, different initiatives who will get rid of all this grid and gas and things which are only weak compromises. We must be independent as we are in our personal power provider. We must supply our own energy and maybe for the neighbor or for the product. That's the idea. So we have covered all these topics, and I thank also my team, my helpers, for the support, and I wish you a nice evening. Thank you very much.